you know, one of the things that they do well is they're very upfront with people, so there's no surprises. They don't sit down at the table like, okay, well, this is not enough money. They are all taking the job, and
Gotcha.
25 applicants so far have been like, yeah, no, this is for me.
Good. So our compliment should be close to full.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah, to get it up on the.
Works for me. I guess I get up. We're recording, guys.
I hate to say this. We did this before.
Plug it and plug it back
Yeah.
in.
None of you are.
Nobody likes you.
No extra talk.
Oh, yeah, no, that was definitely us. Yeah, no.
We're not ready to start. We need Aileen.
Yeah, we need to get the. Once again, not going up on the screens.
No, let's do this again.
Well, I did.
Did you? That's what I've seen everybody
Good work for
doing,
Jenny.
so let's see.
We will bring Capital Projects Operation Committee meeting to order.
Sorry, baseball talk must end. Carrie called the meeting.
Courtesy of the floor. If there is none, we will go right to Mr. Amealy and get this thing started as soon as our trusted staff gets us in line. And Mr. G, when we get this thing up, my screen is dark.
I'm trying.
No, I mean, his is bright and mine's is very dark. Okay.
There might, well,
Okay.
that's why.
Looks like we're getting something going.
It wasn't plugged in. It should come up in a second now. Because Steve had it on his. Yeah, that's why. I think it should be coming up.
Dating yourself? Aging?
They should have it.
There's a number of people here. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, Mike, you can get started and we'll see if we can, if the screen pops, we'll have to, I don't know, it's not hitting our screens here, so.
Sure. So starting with the capital improvements updates, Graysdale Nursing Home.
Yes.
The daycare renovations. USA Architects is finalizing the design plans and the bid specs based on a couple site meetings we've had with the staff at Graysdale as well as the daycare provider. We're expecting that the final bid documents will be completed in early November.
Questions on that?
Will we be able to see that in a presentation when it's ready? Will you present that?
We could, yes.
What was the total square footage that they were working with there?
I don't remember the square footage. It's the entire first floor, the southeast wing.
Get that back, if we can get updated on that when we bring that back. Any other questions on that? No? All right, let's go to the prison.
The D-tier renovations, since the last update I gave in August, all the interior masonry work has been completed. The installation of the box headers and columns to frame out the mechanical space in the mezzanine has been completed, and the drywall has been installed. Demolition of the existing windows and infill with the new masonry wall or CMU block has been completed, and they're currently working on the installation of the fire protection system, electrical, plumbing, and ductwork. And the project's on schedule to be completed in January of next year.
Sheet rocking's not gonna actually be the actual cells, that's for something else.
It's just for the mechanical space that's above the cells, and it is correctional grade.
Okay. Any questions on prison detail?
Still on budget?
Yes.
That's good. All right, let's move on to the government center. Is that the elevators?
Actually don't have much to report. The elevators, they did their site survey about a month or two ago. Everything that they need has been ordered at this point. We're just waiting on it to come in. It's going to be several more months still.
And what's the downtime gonna be with that? Is that gonna be done while they're operational?
They're going to have to take one of them out of service each time. It's elevators 2 and 3 right around the corner here. So one will be down, the other will be operational.
Any questions on government center? If not, let's move on to energy performance contract with Jayden Johnson Controls.
Okay, the controls upgrades, they completed the installation of the 21 network automation controllers and the 41 field controllers, Graysdale and the Government Center campuses. They're currently working on the lighting upgrades. Installation's been completed at the Criminal Administration Building, as well as the Domestic Relations Building, and work is currently in progress at Graysdale, Juvenile Justice Center, as well as the Government Center. Water conservation at the prison, the installation of the hardwired flush control valves.
1 second.
Anything up there?
Not yet. That took a little while before. There we are. Before you go, is there any way you can make mine a little brighter, the screen? Because it's kind of dark. I can see Kevin's real well.
These are brightness controls, they probably do.
There's buttons on the side.
Yes, I haven't played with these before.
I'll slide over Kevin.
Okay,
While
you can
he's
do
doing
that.
Okay, let's move on. All right, Michael, continue with what you're doing. I can see Kevin's real well. Thank you.
Okay, so the water conservation at the prison, the hardwired flush control valves for the showers and the toilets was completed in early September. The steam trap replacement and mechanical systems installation at the prison in Graysdale. Work is very nearly complete at both campuses. At the Juvenile Justice Center, work is underway to replace the 3 air handling units and the rooftop unit. The replacement of the first air handler is about 99% complete at this point, and installation of air handler 2 is scheduled to start on Monday, and that upgrade is scheduled to be completed in December. At the Criminal Administration Building, they're currently working to replace the air handling unit and the rooftop condensing unit. That started in early October. The existing unit has been demolished. The new air handling unit has been installed and was started up last week. So building heat is operational there. And they're currently working on the additional piping, insulation, and ductwork with that. And lastly, the boiler replacement for the Human Services Building. The 2 existing boilers have been replaced and are replaced by Leibold Mechanical. Startup testing, commissioning has been completed, and the boilers are currently in use.
Are there any other air handlers in the near future that you're going to have to replace or do any more work besides the ones that we've already contracted to do?
Not outside of this contract.
Okay, so the new DHS, we don't have to worry about theirs?
Correct.
So what we have here, and we were just waiting for supplies to come to do these to begin with, right?
Yes, that's right. What we have that's not in this contract should last us through another couple years at least.
Any questions? All right. Now, bridge updates. Well, I'm sorry, parks. Yeah, John would know about his.
Louisemore Park, the colonial bathroom replacement, that was the contract that was discussed earlier in the Finance Committee meeting. If approved, the work would likely commence in the spring on that. And the Norbath Trail Phase 3, Wilmer R. Schultz started construction of this project last month. This is to replace the existing decking of the 3 bridges between Bull's Head Road and Weaversville Roads, as well as resurfacing the trail between these sections of bridges. And the bridge work's been completed, and there's only some minor trail work left, so that should be wrapping up in the next few weeks.
What's your timetable on Louise Moore when you do that next spring? Is that going to be a month?
The site work will probably take about a month, and then it is a prefabricated building that we're bringing in. So I'd say the total project duration should be less than 3 months.
Okay. Do we have any bridges in John's vicinity of Williams Township and Lower Saucon that need our attention or are being taken care of?
We do. So I guess just starting with the Meadows Road Bridge, the final design remains in progress. A permit package is being submitted to DEP in November, and PennDOT still has a date of January 2024 to get that out to bid.
Okay.
Bridge number 8.
Construction has been paused on the Crestman Road Bridge due to a constructability issue with the scour protection measures. The engineer and the contractor kind of went back to the drawing board. They came up with a revised scour protection system that uses gabion baskets. They went to go start excavation on that, and again, they encountered issues with the soils, and the groundwater elevation was higher than it showed in the boring logs that had previously been taken. So they had to stop that in order to not risk compromising the abutments. So once again, they're still talking about a revised scour protection plan for that. And I believe that conversation happened this week, so they're expecting to have a plan moving forward within a week, I would think.
Okay.
No, nothing in Saucon, near Hellertown, no bridges beside the Meadows? We don't have anything else over there?
We're good. It's just Meadows Road there.
I have a
Okay.
question about a bridge that's really near to you. That High Street Bridge, who owns that?
That's City of Bethlehem.
Completely? It's not
Yes.
co-owned?
Correct.
Okay.
I have another one. The Humor Park one that's been closed for a while.
The Glendon Umar Park.
Yeah. Is it just gonna stay like that? Is it gonna, I mean, it's,
We're talking-
That's a railroad issue, isn't it, too?
It's one of the complicating factors. It's
You know, this,
that bridge has basically everything going for it in terms of it's over Norfolk Southern's tracks, one of their busiest sections. It's over the canal. Constructability would be a nightmare, and it's hard to justify a replacement. So our intention is just to remove it and not put a replacement back in. And we've been trying to get funding through the TIP, working with
even
PennDOT
with
for
all
that.
the federal transportation money that was out, this past year, there was no interest in pursuing that?
We're trying to get our slice of it.
Okay.
okay. Any other questions on bridges? Okay, now, for the update on Lehigh Valley Transit Study, we were referred to you by the illustrious executive to give us a breakdown of just exactly how you get your numbers and how this all came about.
Sure.
Am I wrong with that, Mr. McClure? Okay. It shows yours. Explain to us.
We can't blow these up, huh?
All right, so I wanted to just provide an overview of LVTS and the TIP and kind of how it comes about. So if there's any questions, please feel just stop me. Just wanted to start with an overview of like the voting structure for LVTS. So there is 2 separate committees. There's a technical and the coordinating committee. The coordinating committee is the side that the county participates in. Each county has 3 votes. Each city has 2 votes. LVPC gets 1. Lanta, the airport authority, also get 1. And PennDOT has 2 single votes, one for the central office and one for the local District 5 office. So any kind of, modifications to the tip must get voted on by LVTS.
Gotcha.
So the tip itself, it's a 4-year plan that's updated every 2 years, administered by the LVTS. Roughly 80% of it is funded through federal highways, with the remaining 20% being contributed from PennDOT as well as the municipalities. And projects must be on the long-range transportation plan before they can be moved to the tip. So the current tip ranges from 2023 to 2026. It took effect at the start of this past month. It covers about $486 million in roadway, bridge, transit, and trail projects. Some of the noticeable projects that are included on this most recent tip, you can see 2 separate interchanges on 309 in Lehigh County, the Hill-to-Hill Bridge in Bethlehem, the Route 33 bridge replacements are the highest profile project in Northampton County on this current tip cycle. There's another resurfacing project at 309, Gap Bridge repairs in Lehigh County, and lastly, the SR 22-191 interchange enhancements here in Northampton County.
Well, what exactly is the 22 and 191 interchange? Are they making it wider?
It's going to be,
Participate.
it would be a complete reconfiguration of the ramps. I mean, they're very narrow, hard to, you see the trucks hitting the barriers constantly. So that would be a whole reconfiguration of that area.
Okay.
And this graph, if you can see it, is a kind of a pie chart showing how those funds are distributed on this current tip. Northampton County is shown in blue, Lehigh County in orange. By county projects, such as that Hill-to-Hill Bridge or like a project on 22 that would span both counties would fall under that by county piece. And the green slice for transit is all funding for Lanta. So the long-range transportation plan that I had mentioned previously, that's kind of the base that projects for the TIP are pulled from. So the LRTP is a 25-year plan that gets updated every 4 years, and that was most recently done in October of 2019. So we'll be up to renew that again next year. And that consists of roughly $2.48 billion for transportation projects over that 25-year time period. And the way it's considered is 3 separate phases: the short range, mid-range, and long range. And the short range covers the first 4 years of the plan. So that is the TIP, essentially. The mid-range covers years 5 through 12. So that's projects that might get started on the first 4 TIP projects that are started in the first 4 years, but were not completed, as well as projects that are on the State Transportation Committee's 12-year plan. And that is something that LVTS has no involvement with, the 12-year plan. And the long range covers the later section, the years 13 through 25. And it's projects that are programmed but not completed during the state's 12-year plan, as well as projects that were selected by LVTS during the open call for plans and projects. If you remember back in 2019 when the LRTP was updated, we were very aggressive in communicating with our municipalities, asking them what their transportation needs were, and submitting them to LVTS for consideration. Unfortunately, as you can see in the next section, the unmet needs, there was about $4 billion worth of projects that were submitted, but unfortunately were not selected due to the anticipated funding constraints.
Were those just on our side or total by county?
Total by county.
Thank you.
And here is the breakdown showing funding in all three phases, the short range, the mid-range, and the long range for those same four categories, Lehigh County, Northampton County, Bi-County, and transit.
Wow. Wow. It's very, yes. And I guess my question is, what do we do to equal that out a little bit? If there's anything that we can do? Besides petition the legislature.
We voted not to approve the TIP a couple of years ago, and we're the only entity not to do that.
God damn. Excuse my French. Go ahead.
Well, and I said,
Questions?
I have could you go back to the first slide? I have a question for the non-engineering mind about the two sides, the one that had the chart.
Bye.
This one,
Nope, keep going. Very first slide that there.
very first slide.
Okay,
Okay.
so there's a coordinating committee and a technical committee. So walk me through the life cycle of a project. Like our bridge, we had a problem with our bridge. Does it go to coordinating first and they decide and then it goes to technical? Or do they simultaneously review these projects and then
Oh, good point.
jointly make a decision?
So technical committee is considered like an advisory body, essentially. They don't have any kind of voting power. So the technical committee makes recommendations that the coordinating committee then acts on.
Okay, but I would assume that somebody like yourself, or hopefully somebody with an engineering background, is not talking about the feasibility, the costs, timeline, figuring out the priorities and the actual how we get it done, or am I wrong about that?
The practical of this is that PennDOT dominates the technical committee. And the projects that are going to be placed on the tip, while legally are determined by the coordinating committee, they all emanate from the technical committee and
So-
essentially PennDOT.
So technical drives the bus.
Yes.
And then it gets
Yes,
yes or no?
essentially rubber stamped.
Well, I did that.
Yeah.
But just-
Well, I wanted to say it out loud.
Judging by this graph, it looks like the coordinating committee side of it has 17 votes and the technical committee side has 10 votes. Am I reading that right? So I'm just looking
At numbers.
maybe I'm misunderstanding what
So the
their
technical
votes-
committee doesn't have any votes.
But they get to drive the narrative.
Right. But you're
Everything other than
seeing
technical.
the cities there.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
cities' votes are on the coordinated committee side.
No, there's,
Well, they're on both
They're on
sides, it
both.
looks like.
According to the,
Okay.
are there,
I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how this all works.
Sorry,
Because
Carrie,
this
I
is
don't mean to
new
cut you off.
to me.
and is there anybody on both sides? Or is the same person? Do you know what I mean? Like,
It looks like
are they
City
all
Downtown,
different
Bethlehem, and Easton.
representatives? Yeah, but maybe somebody from the city of Bethlehem is on one committee and somebody else on the other? or is it
Sometimes
all the
yes,
same?
sometimes no.
that's
Yeah. No,
that's
it's
confusing as hell.
well, look.
I understand. PennDOT's driving the bus.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
as they should.
Right, because
Right?
they're experts.
Because they have the expertise. It is
Absolutely.
absolutely their lawful requirement to expend the transportation funding that the legislature gives them to expend. Although the law also requires, federal law and state law requires that these MPOs be formed in order for the locals, if you will, us and Lehigh County and municipalities in Lehigh County and municipalities in Northampton County have the ultimate decision-making through the votes that are assigned to them on the coordinating committee. Except it doesn't work that way.
So who represents us on the, for the Northampton County?
Us, I am. I'm on it. I'm the person.
So you get 3 votes as,
Well, we do, yes, the county does. Yep.
And the city has representatives, meaning probably the mayors, or who they designate.
Yes.
Got you.
The LVTS prefers the principals to be there, but, they can't always be there.
Gotcha.
Since I've assumed the chair of the coordinating committee, though, I've participated in all the meetings myself. Mike is with me and does staff, but
You're the chair of the coordinating committee.
I am. They give me a script to read, Mr. Myers. And so sometimes I deviate from that script, but they.
Are you kidding me?
No, they.
Just,
no.
that's, that's just teasing. Could we flip around to some other slides? Back to those projects? Stop right there. So this is we have other projects, yes?
Yeah, the total list is probably maybe 100 projects long.
These are the bigger ones.
So can I ask, again, just the mechanics of it, do you sit and decide your priority list, or do you work with Bethlehem and Easton kind of collaboratively, or how do we,
How's Northampton County and the municipalities?
how do we make that decision-making process? Because obviously, you all have your finger on the pulse of the county, you hear from the municipalities, or no, they go directly to the folks?
So when the table is set by PennDOT, right, that's really the meal that is being served. And so with the level of coordination, you have to appreciate a couple of things. One, what we really have, we the county, are bridges. That's our infrastructure need. So when we're advocating for Northampton County infrastructure needs, we're advocating for state, if you will, Route 33, for example, or municipal infrastructure needs. They're not actually Northampton County's infrastructure needs itself. So in many ways, we're an advocate or a cheerleader for the priorities of our municipalities. With respect, you asked the question about coordination. That's very difficult, and I'll give you a reason why. So if you're the city of Easton, for example, and you want to get the $2 million that you need to do the work you need to do on their bridge leading into Hugh Moore Park, you're not going to be particularly worried about some of the larger county initiatives that we have put forward to PennDOT, which heretofore have been rejected by PennDOT. We've given them a list of county priorities of 5 or 6 priorities that aren't priorities of theirs. So it's very difficult to marshal the votes to change any priorities. It's, I'm trying to find the word that wouldn't be offensive to any particular group about how this whole process in my mind actually works. But what I would say is the function of this group is to put a public face on the projects that PennDOT generates, and then the coordinating committee comes along and rubber stamps them. Occasionally, when we make enough noise, like we did with the Meadows Road Bridge, we can get something on the tip. But that's so really, I think you said earlier what it is county council can do. County council can engage in you're educating yourself about what LVTS is, and you can engage in oversight. You can bring Ms. Bradley in, and you can ask her, so Northampton County has, and we can give you the list of projects that we've given to PennDOT that are our priorities. Why aren't any of these priorities included in the TIP? They're on your long-range plan, Ms. Bradley. Why is it that the county can't get these on the TIP? And then she'll have to answer your questions about that. So that's something you can do. The other thing you can do is you have the power of the purse with respect to funding. You do have the ability to influence policy and procedures at the Planning Commission by virtue of the amount of money you either give or withhold from the Planning Commission, because as we've seen, the monies are fungible back and forth from LVPC and LVTS, even though sometimes she'll tell you they are and sometimes she'll tell you they're not. It's very complicated, but those are really the two ways that you have to affect this process. Now, I myself am working with directly with District 5 of PennDOT to try and encourage them to include more of our priorities on the tip when it gets amended. And I'm going to be involving our legislators more directly in the process, the LVTS process. And one of the things redistricting has done in the state Senate, irrespective of who's successful in these campaigns, is given us two senators in Northampton County who I think will be very interested in helping us have a more equitable LVTS and transportation funding for Northampton County going forward into the future.
Before we go any further, I'd like to make a recommendation that we send a letter or ask for Ms. Becky Bartlett to make an appearance and explain to us why we're limited to what's actually on the TIF coming out of this committee. If anybody wants to make a second that we do that.
Well,
She needs to
I was going to say, do we need to
explain
send
us.
a letter? I think we can make a request without a letter, but I guess my question would be, where would you like her to present? Would you like her to come back to a budget hearing, to a
I
finance
think
committee?
she needs to come here
Or
first and
to
then.
this meeting?
Come to this committee first, and then we'll see where she goes to after we're done with her. In a
So,
nice way, after we question as to why we're low on this priority list.
Now, in fairness to her, I think she will say and has said, I want to be fair to her, she will say that we have not been engaged, we, the county of Northampton, have not been historically engaged in LVTS. But Mike and I are going on 5 years of being very engaged, and we've made very little progress.
Well, my question to that is, if we're giving you money, we've engaged already. So I don't want to hear that noise. And if I'm right or wrong, if we're giving money, we want something for our money and not just pay their salaries.
sure, no, and I would support your letter, but I think we could certainly make the ask of her without having to put it in writing or however, but I'm just thinking, thinking of the timeline, are you planning to have another capital projects meeting next month in November prior to our,
With this coming up, absolutely, I want another one just for this
so
alone.
then you would want to request her to be here November 16th, or we could put her at the end of my meeting into the beginning of yours and, then
That
we
will
have
work too.
her.
It can run concurrent to what we want to do. 'Cause
But I'm just thinking, because if you're talking money and there's a budget request that she's making, we don't want to delay this and you want to have her come back. But I think where I would put it in writing is.
On our agenda?
To be very, no, I would be very specific when you request her to come, to tell her exactly what you want her to present, because my experience is that it can go all over the place, or not be what you're directly asking.
Let's be very specific as to why our projects aren't on this TIP program. That's about as specific as I want. I don't want any other explanation about anything else, is why we have so few projects on here.
Why are we not equally represented as far as how much money is being spent as compared to Lehigh County, who has, a disproportionate amount of population compared to the amount of money that they're receiving?
Did you get that, Elaine?
I've been asking that questions for 5 years. I've only been here for 5. I don't know that I got that answer yet, so.
Well, we're going to ask, and she can either
Lamont's
answer
been
it,
here
because
longer,
we will
and
ask
he's
it
been-
several times until we get an answer. And if she doesn't give us an answer, we'll dismiss her and bring her back.
I mean, I could see, when I look at some of these, what you call notable projects, that certainly Center Valley Interchange is huge. The bridge replacements on 33 are huge.
Hill to Hill's huge.
And I look at that and I think, so how, and like now I have questions like how, when, how long are they gonna be tied up? When you say that you're gonna do the Hill to Hill Bridge, when is that targeted to start?
It's a long range.
So I think it's important for us to start from a place of fairness, to acknowledge that historically we, the county, may not have paid the requisite attention needed to be paid to LVTS. And I think we also need to acknowledge from a starting point that we benefit from the bridges that go over the river that are half in Lehigh County and half in Northampton. I mean, we benefit from the buy. And I think, I don't want anybody who's listening to this or watches it tomorrow to think that we we don't understand basic issues of fairness. I mean, so the answers to the questions are going to be, we haven't been engaged. Well, Mike and I have been engaged for 5 years, and we've given them a laundry list of projects that can't make its way on, and they have to answer that question. I think PennDOT will also tell you that Lehigh County has more miles of road, and there's more traffic there. So therefore more, right? I mean, we hear that all the time. They'll tell you that if you ask them that, and that's why priority is given to projects in Lehigh County. I mean, okay, but we're saying,
They still gotta travel through our county to get to New Jersey where they're taking this stuff.
see, that's logic there.
Well,
There's logic there.
I guess I don't want to drag this out any longer, because I don't think these questions are for somebody else, but
Yes.
the money that funds these projects are, I'm assuming, everybody's tax dollars. So what is the proportion there as far as what we contribute and what they contribute?
Well,
Because I don't really care how many miles of roads they have if we're, contributing 48%, but if we're contributing 30%, makes a little bit more sense.
so, I mean, where does so it's national funding, right?
No,
So it's really hard it's national funding that flows down through the state. So it's really hard to say who pays more.
Who allegates?
Yeah, I mean, they're slightly bigger than we are. They've got more people, maybe they pay a little more, who knows? But the fact of the matter is, this doesn't even come close to being equitable. It's not even in the ballpark. And what I'm saying is, and why I'm talking about it, is we haven't made any progress. Incremental at best.
Okay,
Can I ask another?
yeah, you,
I know everybody's interested in sports, my team starts later, but I might have asked this in my own head, but I guess my fear is if we do start to ask some of these questions, and we have this infrastructure money coming, and I assume it's coming through this vehicle, are we then compromising our ability to get a piece of that money?
I think,
Or is it all coming through here and we get none of that money?
fear is rational. That's a rational fear. But I think it is always better to do things in the sunshine because it makes it harder to do ill deeds in the sunshine than it is to do ill deeds in the dark. And by asking questions, you're shining light on it. And if somehow we get even less money because you asked a hard question of the secretary of the LVTS, Ms. Bradley, then there are potential other problems for folks. So, I don't think we're not gonna get less money because you asked a hard question.
Right, and I don't mean to be irrational, but I mean, we're already getting less, and at some point it was assumed or told to us years ago that our expectation was a 50-50 split. And I've made myself pretty clear that if we're not getting 50% of services equitably, now, again, I could see the 309 Center Valley Interchange, I live near there, we're very close to that, it's huge, like you said, I have to go through there to get to Harrisburg if I want to, so I get that, but
So what are you getting now? What are you getting without asking the questions?
nothing.
nothing.
Exactly.
I'm just giving.
What are you gonna lose? What are you, and quite frankly, if any kind of retaliatory action were taken, or any kind of projects were refrained from being performed because we asked questions, I would scream bloody murder about that, and there would be consequences.
What I'm also reacting to is your statement that if we ask the question collectively, that the response we might get is, well, you weren't engaged. Well, I wasn't here. I don't care. I'm here now. I'm asking the question now. I'm sorry that somebody before me didn't think to ask the question or didn't engage, but as you said, for 5 years we have been. And so, like, that to me doesn't seem like a reasonable answer. I'm hoping that I will hear something more.
Well, you're gonna hear that if we worked with everybody else who had votes on the coordinating committee and got a majority of votes, we could put anything we wanted on the tip.
Those
You're gonna hear
things,
that.
again, those things don't help me answer my questions.
I know, but that's what you're gonna hear.
Yeah, so, all right, we'll deal with
Thank you.
that.
Thank you for your
I
time.
thank you for your,
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
and we'll go from there. Okay, Michael,
Fun
I
stuff.
didn't mean to cut you off.
Were there any other questions? Okay, that's all I had.
Yeah, I
then.
have one question for you.
Sure.
Is there something that you see as the Public Works Director and having been involved in this process in this county that we really, really need, that we're not getting, and that we should be pursuing more aggressively with her when she comes?
Are we talking about county-specific projects or
You know. if there's
projects within Northampton
If
County?
there's $4 billion of projects left on the table, are there some projects that need to come to our attention that we should be pushing for her?
There's definitely projects on the long-range plan that would be well-suited to be pushed forwards onto the tip.
All right, so for that meeting, can we have, yes,
Yeah?
can we have that
you
list
share
of
that with
projects?
council?
So we can share that with council, so when she comes, we can ask why.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, and if that's, I think we got the crux of what's going on here. Do we have anything, do you have anything else that you want to present with this, no?
You finished the slides, right? I
Yep,
beat you.
that,
That was my thing.
Concluded my
If you're done with the
presentation.
slides. Anybody got any other questions? I think we got a good idea of what we're going to do, and I think we're going to make sure that she appears next month. Pardon me?
We can discuss that after the meeting.
Then, yeah, we'll split it between our two meetings in the next,
Yeah, why don't we do that? Put her at the end of mine, beginning of his, and
if there's no other
call
business.
it
I thank Mr. McClure for his input, and I thank Mike for giving us an update on, and if possible, these slides that you had, if possible, can we get that and have every member, because I found it very educational for me to see what's going on. I've been sitting there for 3 years, so I really have got better understanding of what the hell's going on with that. I thank you for coming and presenting this to us, and thank Mr. McClure for informing us that you were the man behind it. Thank you very much. With that, motion to adjourn the meeting. So be. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Your face was getting weird during that presentation. I wonder why. I know, I was watching it.
Oh, Phillies are down 7-4. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
All right. Get that.
I'm just gonna leave these.